Hey Vikings Nation, are you ready for one of the boldest draft scenarios floating around right now? Because what's being discussed could completely reshape the future of the Minnesota Vikings. And trust me, this one comes with serious risk, serious reward, and a whole lot of intrigue. There's a new twist involving a potential trade down with the Philadelphia Eagles that could land the Vikings an extra second-round pick. But here's the catch: it would cost valuable positioning in round one. So the big question is, are the Vikings ready to gamble for depth instead of star power? Stick with me because we're breaking down every angle of this potential move, who Minnesota could target, what they might lose, and why this could define the next era of Vikings football. The buzz started heating up after a front office shakeup that has everyone wondering about the team's new direction. With leadership changes happening, the Minnesota Vikings might not follow the same draft philosophy we've seen in recent years. That opens the door for a more aggressive or maybe more strategic approach. Instead of locking in on one top-tier prospect, the Vikings could spread their bets across multiple players. And that's exactly where this trade idea comes into play, potentially giving Minnesota more flexibility and more shots at building a complete roster. Let's break down the proposed deal because it's juicy. The Vikings would move down from pick number 18 to number 23 in the first round. In return, they'd gain a second-round pick at number 54. Sounds simple, right? But it also means giving up a third-round pick and a late-round selection. So essentially, Minnesota sacrifices a bit of premium positioning and mid-round depth for a stronger presence early on day two. Now here's where things get interesting. This kind of move suggests the Vikings don't see themselves as just one player away from contention. Instead, it signals a more balanced, long-term approach. Build depth, fill multiple holes, and create competition across the roster. And honestly, Vikings fans, that might not be a bad thing considering the number of needs this team still has. If the Vikings do pull the trigger on this trade, pick number 23 becomes incredibly important. That's where they'd still aim to grab a high-impact player. But the real excitement might come at number 54, a spot that opens up a whole new range of possibilities. And let me tell you, the list of potential targets there is deep and full of intriguing talent. We're talking about prospects across nearly every position. Cornerbacks, wide receivers, edge rushers, linebackers, you name it, it's on the table. That kind of flexibility is exactly what a team in transition needs. Instead of forcing a pick, you let the board come to you. And that's where smart drafting can separate contenders from pretenders. Imagine adding a dynamic wide receiver to complement the current offense, or grabbing a versatile defensive back to strengthen a shaky secondary. What about a young edge rusher who can develop into a game-changer? The options are wide open, and that's the beauty of having that extra second-round pick. It gives you room to breathe and make smarter decisions. But let's not ignore the downside here. Moving from number 18 to number 23 could mean missing out on elite-tier talent. There are certain players who might not be available just 5 picks later, and that's a real risk. Sometimes, those small moves make a massive difference in the long run. One key concern: top prospects from powerhouse programs could be gone by the time the Vikings are on the clock again. That includes potential impact players at positions of need, guys who could start right away and elevate the team instantly. And passing on that kind of talent is never an easy pill to swallow. Now let's flip the perspective and look at why the Eagles would even consider this deal. Philadelphia is known for being aggressive on draft day. They love moving around the board to get their guy. And if a top-tier player starts slipping, jumping up to number 18 could be the perfect opportunity. They could be targeting help at edge rusher, offensive tackle, or even wide receiver. There are also rumors swirling about possible roster changes in Philadelphia, which could increase their urgency. If they're looking to replace key players or upgrade specific positions, this trade makes even more sense for them. And when you're dealing with a team that thrives on bold moves, nothing is off the table. For the Vikings, though, this is about identity. What kind of team do they want to be moving forward? Do they go all in on elite talent, or do they build a deeper, more balanced roster? That's the decision that will define this draft strategy. Another layer to this story is the coaching staff's vision. There's confidence in the current roster, but also an understanding that improvement is needed. And that balance between confidence and urgency is what makes this decision so fascinating. Because one wrong move could set the team back, while the right one could accelerate a rebuild. Let's talk about roster needs for a second. Defense remains a major area of concern, especially in the secondary and pass rush. Adding multiple contributors instead of one star could actually address more of those weaknesses. And that's a huge argument in favor of making this trade. On the offensive side, depth is just as important. Injuries happen, and having reliable backups can make or break a season. An extra second-round pick could bring in a player who contributes immediately. And that's something every successful team relies on. There's also the psychological side of this move. Trading down sends a message to the locker room. It says, we're building something bigger than just one player. And that kind of mindset can shape team culture in a powerful way. But let me ask you this, Vikings fans. Would you be comfortable passing on a potential star at number 18? Or do you trust the front office to find multiple gems later in the draft? That's the debate that's dividing the fanbase right now. And honestly, both sides have valid points. It all comes down to execution, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the picks, it's about what you do with them. Drafting well can turn a good strategy into a great one. So keep your eyes locked on this situation, because it could develop quickly as draft day approaches. Trade talks like this tend to heat up behind the scenes before exploding into reality. And if this deal goes down, it could be one of the defining moments of the Vikings offseason. Alright, Vikings Nation, now I want to hear from you. Would you make this trade? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you'd stay at 18 or move down for more picks. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with every Minnesota Vikings fan you know. Because the next big move could be just around the corner.